May I now request Dr. Sudhir Pawar, Professor and Head of Department of Pharmacology, to make his presentation.
So you want me to present?
Please share again.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well. We can see your screen as well.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'll go directly to my topic, drugs in mucormycosis. So primarily the treatment of mucormycosis, as we are coming next speakers, surgery is the main therapy. But along with that, we treat patient with drugs. So what are the primary drugs which are used in the treatment of mucormycosis? As amphotericin B, which is liposomal amphotericin B lipid complex, conventional amphotericin B. Also, we have ivaciconazole and posaconazole. In combination therapy, we have echinocandin along with Pauline therapy, and we can give deferricirox along with Pauline drugs. In adjunctive therapy, we have interferon gamma, we have GM-CSF and G-CSF. The current targets, we have Pauline drugs which binds to ergosterol in the cell membrane, resulting in the creation of pores in the membrane and called cell death. Posaconazole and ivaciconazole, they inhibit cytochrome P450 demethylase, blocking synthesis of cell membrane and cell membrane stabilizing ergosterol. Echinocandin inhibits cross-linking of beta-glucan in the fungal cell wall, whereas deferricirox ion chelation therapy. Deferricirox is a molecule which blocks uptake of iron, which is essential for the fungal growth. And the current targets are the adjuvant therapy, which host immune enhancing strategies, like we have granulocyte transfusions and drugs like G-CSF and GM-CSF and interferon. Coming to amphotericin B, it's a broadest spectrum of activity. It acts by binding to the ergosterol and forms pores in the cell membrane, cause increased permeability of membrane and allow leakage of cytosolic molecules and ions, leading to loss of membrane rigidity. Recently, it has been found that it forms aggregates that sequester ergosterol from the lipid bilayer, much like a sponge, resulting in fungal cell death. Amphotericin B is not orally absorbed much, so it is given intravenously, and this drug is 90% plasma protein bound. But when given intravenously, very little, almost 2 to 3% amphotericin B penetrates CSF, vitreous tumor, or normal amniotic fluid. These drugs are not much impaired in case of hepatic and renal disease, but since these are the drugs more nephrotoxic, should be used carefully in this condition. And these are excreted slowly in urine over a period of several days. If you see the formulations of all three drugs, like conventional amphotericin B deoxycholate, liposomal amphotericin B, or amphotericin B lipid complex, dose is 1 to 1.5 milligram per kg for amphotericin B conventional. The advantage is that this drug is much more known for more than 50 years and licensed only for mucormycosis. But this drug is highly toxic and poor CNS penetration. Liposomal amphotericin B, it is given the dose of 5 to 10 milligram per kg per day, and in CNS infection, we give 10 milligram per kg per day. It is less nephrotoxic than amphotericin B. It has better CNS penetration than amphotericin B and lipid complex amphotericin B. But this drug is expensive compared to other two molecules. Whereas amphotericin B lipid complex, it is given a dose of 5 to 7.5 milligram per kg per day. It is less nephrotoxic than amphotericin B, but it is more nephrotoxic than liposomal amphotericin B, possibly less efficacious than other options as monotherapy. To be well known that recommended dosage should not be slowly increased over several days, and full dose must be given from the first day of daily treatment. Its adverse effects are seen as infusion-related fever and chills, headache, nausea, vomiting, malaise, weight loss, phlebitis at the peripheral infusion site, tachypnea, respiratory stridor, hypotension. As you may see, almost 80% of patients who receive conventional amphotericin B. And the next one is the nephrotoxicity. Hypochromic anemia is also seen with conventional nephrotoxicity. When it is used for prolonged period, it can cause renal wasting of potassium and magnesium. Next drug is isavuconazole. It has been approved in US and Europe long back in 2015 for mucormycosis. It is the best part is that this drug is orally as well as parenterally available. It is given orally and intravenously, 98% available. It is 99% protein bound, and when it is given along with food, the absorption area under the curve can be decreased by 20%. So better drug is taken on an empty stomach. It is eliminated hepatically, so by hepatic metabolism, so to be avoided in case of hepatic failure. Dose, it is given the dose of 200 milligram 3 times a day for first 1 to 2 days, followed by 200 milligram per day for next from day 3. Adverse effect, this is the drug isavuconazole, which is well tolerated. The main common side is anorexia, nausea, vomiting, which is GI related. It can cause constipation, it can cause pyrexia, hypokalemia, and cough. In drug interaction, CYP inhibitors cause a 5-fold increase in drug area under the curve. That means if you give along with some anti-COX treatment like INH, there can be 5-fold increase of isavuconazole, and CYP inducers decrease drug concentration. So if you give inducers like rifampicin, it will decrease the drug concentration of isavuconazole. Coming to the next drug, posaconazole, it acts by inhibition of sterol 4-alpha demethylase. It is available as a delayed release tablet, IV infusion, as well as oral suspension. In this case, posaconazole, the viability of oral suspension is significantly increased by food. So if you take along with food, the viability is much more increased. Gastric acid increase its absorption. Half-life is almost 25 to 30 hours, more 98% protein bound. This drug is also like isavuconazole, it is metabolized in liver. Dose, a delayed release tablet or intravenous, it is given 300 milligram twice a day on day 1 and subsequently 300 milligram per day from day 2. Oral suspension is given in the dose of 400 milligram. Adverse effects are also this posaconazole is also well tolerated. Only slight GI disturbances in like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, and headache. If you see drug interactions, posaconazole inhibits cytochrome P3A4. Rifabutin and phenytoin decreases posaconazole exposure. So patient who was on rifabutin, if a COX patient, which is commonly seen post-COVID, if is on rifabutin, it will decrease posaconazole exposure. Posaconazole increase inner curve of cyclosporine, tacrolimus, sirolimus, midazolam, and other CYP3A4 substrates. This is a drug which can prolong QTC prolongation and should be administered with should not be administered with drugs like methadone, haloperidol, quinidine, and tacrolimus, which also increases QTC interval. In combination therapy, it is seen in vitro, amphotericin B and echinocandins like caspofungin and posaconazole, posaconazole plus caspofungin and isavuconazole were synergistic in vitro. But in vivo studies, there is lack of synergy between azoles and echinocandins. So, combination of amphotericin B, that is liposomal amphotericin B with echinocandin, it prolonged survival and decreased fungal burden of mice in IV model of Rhizopus ulcerae infection. In a recent small study, it was a retrospective study which shows combination of liposomal amphotericin B with caspofungin therapy was associated with significantly improved outcomes of rhinoorbital cerebral mucormycosis among patients with diabetes compared with Pauline monotherapy. So in combination therapy, caspofungin plus liquid Pauline, that is liposomal amphotericin B. So caspofungin has to be given the dose of 70 milligram IV load then 50 milligram per day for more than 2 weeks. Whereas micafungin or adenolafungin can be given in a dose of 100 milligram per day IV for more than 2 weeks in a normal adult. Now coming to the ion chelation therapy, it is seen that desferoxamine ion chelation therapy predisposes to mucormycosis because of desferoxamine actually enhances the delivery of iron to mucorales. Desferoxamine acts as an xenosidrophore. That means it increases the iron to mucorales, which is necessary for the fungal growth. Whereas defipirone and defiracerox do not have this property, so can be used in the treatment of mucormycosis. So there are many studies which tells about defiracerox in combination with liposomal amphotericin B in treatment of mucormycosis. Defipirone protected diabetic mice from mucormycosis. There are studies which shows this. Clinical study assessing defiracerox plus liposomal amphotericin B efficacy was conducted. Patient treated with defiracerox, liposomal amphotericin B had a higher mortality at 90 days than patient treated with liposomal amphotericin B alone. Population imbalance between defiracerox and placebo group did not allow for more clearly established conclusions in this case. Unlike ion chelators, gene chelators have shown no synergy with amphotericin B and poor synergy with posaconazole. So ion chelators are not to be used in this treatment as a combination. So ion chelator as defiracerox is used in the dose of 20 milligram per kg per day for 2 to 4 weeks. Is reasonable for salvage therapy. The side effects along with this drug is the gastrointestinal symptoms like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, which is commonly seen. Then primary toxicity of concern is the renal toxicity. Elevation in creatine occurred in up to 1/3 of patients in defiracerox clinical trials, but they were usually mild and reversible on stopping of this drug defiracerox. Rare post-marketing reports of severe acute renal failure resulting in hemodialysis or death of iron overloaded patients receiving defiracerox is known. However, these patients typically had other underlying risk factors for renal failure. Contribution to defiracerox to renal failure in these cases is not clear. Coming to adjunctive therapies, interferon gamma and granulocyte macrophage corneal stimulating factor enhance the ability of granulocytes to damage the agents of mucormycosis. Case reports have described survival of patients with mucormycosis treated with adjunctive immunotherapy with recombinant granulocyte colony stimulating factor and granulocyte macrophage colony stimulating factor, or with recombinant interferon gamma in conjunction with liposomal amphotericin B. Granulocyte colony stimulating factor mobilized granulocyte transfusions have been increasingly used for refractory mycosis, including mucormycosis. Transfusions may be life-saving for persistently neutropenic patients with mucormycosis. Hyperbaric oxygen treatment has been shown to deploy direct antimicrobial activity. It exerts a synergistic effect in antimicrobial agent and enhances cellular immune system and tissue repair in some infectious diseases. In a review of 28 published cases, authors showed that while hyperbaric oxygen improved survival in diabetic patients, it was ineffective in neutropenic patients. Up till now, there has been no randomized studies with control groups to evaluate efficacy of hyperbaric oxygen so far. Coming to salvage therapy, defiracerox or posaconazole are reasonable salvage options for patients with mucormycosis refractory to or intolerant to choline therapy, that is liposomal amphotericin B. Granulocyte colony stimulating factor mobilized granulocyte transfusion may provide additional support for persistently neutropenic patients until recovery from neutropenia. Administration of granulocyte macrophage colony stimulating factor or interferon gamma may further augment host response and antifungal effect in non-neutropenic patients with refractory infection. If you see the drugs in salvage therapy, posaconazole with or without lipid pollens is given in the dose of 20 milligram orally 4 times a day or 400 milligram orally twice a day. The advantage is that convenient oral dosing of posaconazole and retrospective cases series demonstrated almost 60 to 70% success rates. Disadvantage is that monotherapy posaconazole efficacy less than pollens in murine studies. So combination of posaconazole plus liposomal amphotericin B is no better than amphotericin B alone in murine studies. Coming to deferasirox plus liquid pollens, deferasirox which is given in the dose of 20 milligram per kg per day orally for 2 to 4 weeks. It is convenient oral dosing for deferasirox. Success in case report. There are few case reports which shows there is success in treatment of mucormycosis, but there is limited data in these regards. Coming to granulocyte transfusions, it is given as the 10 billion cells per kg. The advantage is that neutrophils and amphotericin B lipid complex interact synergistically against mucorales in vitro. Case reports of patients supported with granulocyte transfusions are there. Disadvantage is that there is limited clinical data regarding this drug. Coming to recombinant cytokines like granulocyte choline-stimulating factor and granulocyte macrophage choline-stimulating factors or interferon gamma, the advantage is that in vitro studies demonstrate augmented host response of polymorphic nuclear cells to hyphal elements of Rhizopus species. But still there is limited data in this regard. So what should be the total duration of treatment? The total duration of therapy for mucormycosis should be individualized for each patient. Antifungal therapy should be continued until all of the following objectives are attained. There is resolution of clinical signs and symptoms of infection. There is resolution of stabilization of residual radiographic signs of disease on serial imaging, or there is resolution of underlying immunosuppression. Patients receiving immunosuppressive medications, secondary antifungal prophylaxis is typically continued for as long as immunosuppressive regimen is continued. Posaconazole may be an option if pollens cannot be used for prolonged periods. For patients in intermittent immunosuppression, such as those receiving intermittent cycles of chemotherapy, who have adequate leukocyte counts between cycles, secondary prophylaxis should be reinitiated during neutropenia and should be continued until the recovery from neutropenia.
Dr. Pawar, we will have to, yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pawar.